So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, it's a Wednesday and we are in conversation with entrepreneurs. Today, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I have a lady, an entrepreneur, who I don't know how to describe because she has so many facets to herself. And we would want to dig deep into finding out how she became what she became. What have been the journey like? How has the last 2 years treated her? And what is she up to nowadays? And where do we see her in next 5 years from now? With that, let me introduce you to Roopsha Dasguupta, an entrepreneur par excellence, a speaker, an anchor, led multiple radio channels, FM channels in Kolkata, an actress. She's done web series. She's a brand strategist, and I have run out of words. So I leave it to you, Roopsha. You tell us who you are.
That perhaps is the most difficult question because, there was a little something that I had written when I was in class 7. That life is a journey running from day to day. It's not always happy and gay cause sorrows invade our way, but tomorrow is brighter than today. So in a line, if I have to describe myself, I am a traveler. I love to believe that wherever I am right now is a blessing of the divine. The sheer fact that we are breathing, we are alive, we are healthy, and we have the world of loved ones around us is good enough to feel that life is beautiful. And tomorrow is what I look forward to. Now, coming back to your question, who I am an avid learner.
Okay.
And I believe that I am also an extremely sensitive collaborator because I believe that individually, like the eye of an idea would never work if we as together would not work. So
Yes.
I am nothing.
I'm sorry. I've never heard of that eye of the idea being treated so differently. I've always heard about that eye of an eye being treated differently.
So ओइटे मैंने in Hindi जो I अगर हम सोचते हैं कि I दिया, so any idea, if individually somebody thinks that, okay, I am the boss and I have given the idea and that's it, it's going to be a success, it never happens. So whatever journey has happened with whatever success and the glorious work that you've used for me, I feel I feel flattered and I'm actually flying and I'm holding myself onto the sofa even strongly after somebody like you, Mr. Moloy Chakravorty, such an eminent business coach, and you have introduced me in such a great way that all I know is that I want to learn now more and from somebody like you.
Oh, lovely. And I think then we can have great deal of collaborations going forward because, ladies and gentlemen, you may think that I know Roopsha for ages now, but we have met thrice in person and once today in virtual.
Yes.
So that's all that I know about her. So if you think you don't know about her, believe me, I don't know about her as well. So but we were having this conversation, and what happened is the way we connected was I was doing a panel discussion and she was the MC, and she told me and she threatened me that, Moloy, when you end, please ensure that you hand it over to me, saying hand over to Roopsha. So that's how she threatened me, and that's how I think we gelled well.
Oh my God, this is what perception is all about. For me, it was a request.
But for me, it was a threat. Okay, but that jokes apart. So Roopsha, you were mentioning when we met some time back that you come from a family which was very, very education oriented, right? And hence, no wonder you have all those gray matter in your head.
I thought I colored my hair enough.
Yeah, I don't think you've colored your hair enough. So there's a lot of gray showing. So tell me, Roopsha, about your initial part of the journey and how did you start off and how did this Roops happen?
Okay, that is a very interesting thing that for me, the beginning of life had been Porashuna, which is academics. Though my father and mother really tried that I'm going to be as great in grades like my siblings, like my cousins, like the first cousins and my own elder sister, who happened to be a first class and everything. But for me, life was about a balance. So I had been a mid-bencher all my life. But one thing was very sure, that we do not have anybody coming home with a failed report. So my father was very sure that whatever you do, if you come home with a report card which has got a red strike and you're not promoted, please don't come home. So that was a fear that led me to take this decision that, okay, let my sister study whatever she wants to, because she's 7 years older. At one point she has to end. So I'm going to at least pick up 1 degree more than her. That was my only ambition in life as I was growing up. So eventually what happened is that life was on its own course. I interestingly joined Bachelor of E-Commerce in 2000, which is 22 years ago.
Did e-commerce exist then?
Yes, it had just kind of, to be very honest, this is very interesting that whenever me or my parents would say that be e-com, everybody would think, oh, BCom Purcho. So I had to literally tell everybody, no, there is an E in between, but the E was very, very fluid that time, because this was the year 2000 when I had just kind of given my higher secondary. And for some reason, I did not want to go into a conventional format for my studies.
Mm-hmm.
But 6 months down the line, I realized that I was enjoying the creative part of e-commerce, which was like the HTML part, where it came to a lot of colors and I was creating small HTML stuff. But I was very scared of mathematics. Okay. So the programming part of C, C++, Java, Oracle, when that kind of really became a big part of my syllabus, I somehow realized that if I stick on to this, I will probably not pass.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the fear of failure led me to rewind my career to a different thing. So I kind of joined English honors, leaving e-commerce. So I think that was a decision that I kind of look back and think was perhaps not right. In 2003, if I was a graduate in e-commerce, things would have been very different then. But no regrets. After English honors, I had started my first job in 𝗁𝗏, which gradually became Vodafone to 𝗰.
Yeah.
So my first job was in 𝗁𝗏, which was on paper, my first job. And I was in 𝗁𝗏 for 1 year.
What do you mean on paper?
So basically my first money that I earned was at, when I was 16, I had just kind of given my madhyamik. I used to be quite a painter in my school days. So I would represent school in art, contests and all. So I earned my first envelope, 220 rupees a month, being an art teacher in a government-aided school in Calcutta. So I used to go there once a week on Sunday with a salwar kameez on. I was 16 years old and I had students who were 18, 19 also. So I had to look a little older than them. So that was my first rojgar, if you want to, look back. And that was 220 rupees in an envelope. Cut to 11, 12, I had joined a different school. And that school had a huge change in my life. The reason why I'm talking about this today is because, when you look back, there are those times which really create the you. So I think my decision of changing my school, or rather the situation of joining a new school, 11, 12A, was a big thing in my life, because in that school, I probably found the me that I never found earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the school captain, I was the president of the Impact Club. So with those glorious badges and all, you suddenly feel that, okay, life is not just about being a crowd, but about being somebody different. And getting that in a school which had never had anybody else taking that position in 100 years of their history was historical. Because they would always have a school captain who had studied with them from low KG.
Okay.
So I think that was a turning point in my life, because the two most biggest badges on my collar for 1 year really gave me that feeling of, okay, I am just not a crowd.
Right.
Moving back, so after graduation, though my 𝗁𝗏 was my first job, but my first big money I earned was right after my higher secondary, which is Uccha Madhyamik, when my friends were taking vacations and going out and having fun. I was there working from 8 GC Avenue, from a DSA of HSBC credit cards. And I was 18, I would walk around GC Avenue, Park Street, Dharmotala. So you put a blindfold on me and you put me on any part there, I know I can sniff the lanes and walk. Because I used to go as an 18-year-old doing cold calls, selling HSBC gold cards, because that would get me the most money. And during those times were the times when I actually saw, for an 18-year-old to earn a 25,000 rupees by doing sales was a different ball game.
Oh.
So that was perhaps something which was very different in my life. So I had been working from a very long time and I have done various kind of work. So after credit cards came college. So while I was in college, while I went back to Ashutosh College with English honors, after I had quit that e-commerce, I was selling insurance for HDFC Standard Life Insurance. And just because here I get a chance to talk about myself, I'm saying that in both the cases of sales of credit cards or insurance, nobody could beat my record. And I had picked up all the medals and trophies in those sales years, But sales was only till 21. So till college, I was doing a lot of these things because these were quick money. So when I was selling an endowment policy of 1 lakh premium, during those times, the amount of money I was earning was 40%. So 40% for a 1 lakh was a lot of money. And I'm glad I did it because, during those times are the times when actually I started doing little things for my house and my mother. And the first AC of the house, the microwave, my mother's little bangles, things that I wanted to do, I started doing early. And I'm so glad I did that because today happens to be my mother's death.
Today is that day, right? When she left.
When she left. And sometimes I think glad, I'm not the saving type. Because had I been the saving type, then I probably wouldn't have done whatever little I could do for my mother. So even if it was for a few years, I know my mom slept well because the AC was there. I know my mom worked a little less because the microwave was there. So looking back, life has been very interesting. After graduation, 𝗏 was my first job. I was in corporate relation first 6 months I was in customer care. So, you would call up a call center and I would say, Namaskar, Roopsha apna shahar jaate. And from there, my education was still on. So after graduation, I had joined MA in English and Mass Comm from Jadavpur. So while I was working in 𝗏, I was already pursuing both my postgrads. And within a year, I finished my Mass Comm. And my ambition of doing Mass Comm was I wanted to be in advertising. That was my goal. That I wanted to join advertising. I wanted to make great ad films till about 28, 29. And within 30, I wanted to make my film. And during the same time, I would own a Nikon FM10 camera. So because I was earning, I had my first proper camera because that was not a DSLR age. It was only the SLR age. So I would take this camera, I would click pictures, but it was an expensive hobby. But doing all that, my life was very focused. That I audiovisual কাজ করতে চাই. I wanted to be in advertising, write creatives, think creative. And I joined Rediffusion. So right after 𝗏, my job was with Rediffusion, then So Young and Rubicam. And unfortunately, as a 23-year-old with the age of no Google, because we were still the library age, I did not understand the difference between client servicing and creative side. So I had joined as a junior exec client servicing.
Okay.
And I feel really sad and depressed because I would see all the creative discussions were happening inside that glass door, but client servicing was not included in that, at least not in my level. So I would take that little time out to sit in the studio, and because I was already into that HTML and all, the artists there would allow me to paint a little and everything, but these are things that were not on my KRA. My KRA was to ensure that the client, the hoarding is in the right place and my bills are going. So I was acting in everything but not creative. So that led me to take a decision that, I want to change my job. I'm not enjoying it. So I started looking out for that one job which would just allow me to leave my agency.
Sure.
And that happened to be Radio 𝗏𝗵𝗏.
So you're called the radio lady of Kolkata, I'm told.
Oh, this is what I'm
I
saying.
know this conversation of a radio lady can go on, but I want you to keep it brief because we want to talk more about the entrepreneur, that piece of yours.
Okay, so quickly cutting it short, 2005 was a U-turn for me. I wanted to quit my job, got an opportunity to get interviewed for a sales position in 𝗕ecie.
Okay.
I went and did my interview. I was very happy I'm going to crack it. But what was offered to me was not something I was wanting. I was wanting corporate sales. They were offering me retail. So because I was in corporate all through, I was not wanting that. So I asked my friend to give me some reference so that I can, ask someone to put in a word for me. So that friend gave me the number of the programming head who I had called that night to request him so that he can just push me for the corporate sales. And that person took now I know it's a telephonic interview, he took for 15 minutes. And over the phone when he heard me and he asked me questions, he said, why don't you become a radio jockey? I said, radio jockey, do y'all pay? That was the first thing I asked. Because I come from a zone where life has been parashuna and then you get into a job and that's how you move.
Correct.
RJing and anchoring on stage or being a mimicry artist or exploring these experimental entertainment zone was not a part of my domain altogether. So when 𝗕ecie happened, that's when life opened the door for me because I joined at a time when nascent FM industry was nascent in India.
Correct.
I joined at a time when 𝗕ecie as an empire was 6 stations and in Calcutta we were 18 people team. So nationally 6 stations, 18 people, and when I left 𝗕cie after 6 years, that time I think we were about 38 stations and almost 50 plus people in the team. So I actually witnessed and I probably contributed at least one wall in that brick called the 𝗕cie Empire. And in that 6 years, it's my 𝗕cie learning school that I would say, because radio taught me everything that I am today. Ideation, creative strategy, brand, because people would not understand behind the radio box the world it was. But now maybe people would understand because it's not radio 𝗕cie anymore, it's only 𝗕cie. So radio kind of became a domain and a universe of an agency. So my dream of an agency got nurtured in that industry called radio. And radio opened the 360-degree mind of mine. That time 360 was not digital because I am an Orkut age RJ, okay? When I quit my RJing life, I was still in Orkut. So
you don't have to get in. You don't have to get into that because I know what you're talking. I'm of that age when there was nothing.
Yes, we are almost similar age. It's okay.
Okay. So was radio the reason 𝗏𝗏 happened?
Radio was the reason why Roopsha happened.
Okay. And Roopsha is the reason why 𝗏𝗏 happened?
Yes, 𝗏𝗏s happen because after so many 𝗏s in life, and I think now when I'm ordering something on Swiggy or calling an Uber and they give me an 𝗏𝗏s, I in my mind tell them that stop giving an 𝗏𝗏s to an 𝗏𝗏s, So 𝗏𝗏s happen because life is full of bumps, but still beyond every cloud there is a silver lining, and that's what the beauty of life is. So 𝗏𝗏s and then 𝗏𝗏s. So that's how 𝗏𝗏s is. We are a very small dot of a creative strategy and brand strategy unit. We work to help and optimize the best results for clients. We are glad some people trust us with our craziness. And to be very honest, there is nobody like 𝗏𝗏s, according to us.
So give us some of the work that you have done. Tell us
the work that we do is we essentially do a lot of work for West Bengal telecom fraternity.
Sure.
Because one of my prime clients happens to be the largest distributor and retailer of Eastern India, and the most awarded one.
Okay.
Which is 𝗥�i Cellulars. So everything of 𝗥�i Cellulars, I remain at least a dot in it. And I think today the dot is what connects. So 𝗥�i Cellulars is one client which takes care of so I take care of the telecom thing, everything of their print, their hoarding, their content material, their strategy. So it's telecom. I do some work for Senco Gold and Diamonds. There is a property that we have developed called 𝗀𝗏 𝗀𝗏, which is a 𝗍𝗏𝗁 and 𝗙𝗏𝗁. So it's a chat show format where I always believe, so 𝗏𝗏s believes that every customer is the star of every brand. So 𝗏𝗏s has this little hashtag called #CustomStar. So it's not customer, it's custom star. So celebrating customers with Senco Gold, celebrating clients with 𝗤𝗏 Cellulose. This is kind of a way I would want to celebrate with every brand. Sure. So I work with Apollo, I work with Senco, we work with 𝗤𝗏 Cellulose, and there are two properties that have been with us, which we have created. Which one is a Thursday live called Joy of Life. Because I have a radio background and I can't stop talking. Like you have asked me a question, I'm answering like 100 marks. You know that like I love to talk.
Yeah.
So my
That's
Thursday
life
live
is so easy today.
So Thursday live is Joy of Life, okay, which is right now on the 78th episode, which is 78 weeks. That is something like what I would do on radio, would talk and play songs, like a jock would do.
Sure.
I talk and show out content of my client. Some content is there with the client. Some content, oops, we create. And there is a topic of the day. So every week, almost about 8 to 10 people win prizes. And there are great prizes from my partners. So Pride Group of Hotels National is my partner for 𝗏𝗡𝗏, my hospitality partner. Max Fashion is my fashion partner. So when you're with me on my Thursday live, I ensure that I give you great coupons and not discount coupons. Okay, I don't believe in giving you spend 100 and get 10.
I'll be there every Thursday.
Thank you so very much. So we've been able to create Joy of Life, which is a dash of hope and happiness for my audience. There is a little product called Motivate. Now, Moti, if you hear the word in Hindi, that's exactly what it is about. Where it's about losing weight together. So this is a property which started in January 2021 with Apollo Multi-Speciality Hospitals being my partner. And I had pledged 21 kilos in 2021 and I finally lost 17. But as a team, as a group, because again, as I said, I is nothing without us. So the idea is together as a team. It's a virtual group. If you go to Facebook, you can just type Motivate with Roopsha.
You invited me and I'm struggling to lose weight.
So this year you have to contribute, because this year we are targeting 2022 kilos as one.
No problem. So I'll contribute 100 grams.
Great. Just add one more zero.
No,
that's it.
1,000. Okay. So tell me, Roopsha. So sorry, I'm calling you Roops, and because of the
that's absolutely fine.
Being in the business coaching fraternity, I've seen a lot of people having a lot of challenges in the past 2 years. And like you rightly said at the beginning of the conversation, that we need to celebrate life because we survived probably the most 2 difficult years, which many generations would not have seen, right? Except for those great famine and other stuff. But this was at a much larger scale. So how did you manage in those 2 years?
Of course, like a lot of business houses like us, which is very small, and for me it's a startup, a startup which is like about 4 years on paper, but technically we are working for 3 years.
Right.
So, and out of that, all of us know that 2 years have been pandemic. I had the hospitality segment. I had clients in Thailand, which is my most favorite holiday destination in the world. So I was very happy that I had my Phuket clients and I would travel there, I would work, but hospitality as a segment crashed.
Correct.
Yet, because a few clients trust us, we still sailed. We have not laid off anybody because the team is very small. And my core team also got an increment in the 2 years.
Increment?
Yes.
Are you employing? Is there a probability of you employing me?
Oh, please. We are okay. This is in Bengali, there is a word called team, which is team.
Yeah.
So mine is a team.
Okay.
If you Bangla and English, miliye jodi bhabni.
Right.
So I have a very team.
Okay.
But we ensure that whatever, even if it's a little coming in, because I come from a house where it's 1 Marie biscuit, and if it's 10 people, everybody gets 1/10.
Sure.
So we believe in sharing. So there is a fixed little amount that goes out every month to the people. And on months which are generously good, like Durga Pujo and all, there is a little system of a little bonus, because everybody has to understand the other. But the challenge is that collaboration is something that I have not been able to achieve much in Calcutta. most of the people around me, friends with agencies, with clients, would always take me as a competition, because probably the money is the same, because every client has a brand money fixed.
Correct.
So taking out even 100 rupees from that would mean 100 rupees from somebody.
Less from somebody else.
That is the reason perhaps I have not been able to work in tandem with anybody in a team. But individually, we do try to work, and by the grace of God, we have been able to survive.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So while we come to this end of this conversation, Roopsha, this can go on and on because there's so much to know about you. But what I want to know from you is, you are at that probably the stage of life when you are taking that next big leap into doing something very, very different. I know you spent part of your time in Mumbai now, between Mumbai and Calcutta. And what you also told me the other day was that there is no geographical boundaries. Work can be anywhere, especially that's what pandemic has given us, right? That's one of the gifts of pandemic, that all the geographical boundaries have been thrown away. So where do we see Roopsha? What are our aspirations? What are our dreams? What are those inspirations that you would want to leave behind for those lot of young women out there who's listening to you today? That it's not only about fulfilling the dreams of somebody else. It's important that you fulfill your own dreams. Many of us struggle to take that leap. Chakri acha, I have a job, right? So what do you want to, so two questions, two parts to it. Where do we see you going? And what would you tell all those young women and men who are scared of taking that big leap?
To be very honest, for me, a job was security. But at the end, even if a job is paying you a lot of money in whatever currency you're earning, that one job gone is all the money gone at one go. So for anybody who's got liabilities like EMIs or parental responsibilities, I would request everybody to at least have multiple sources in whatever little form possible. It could be a business that you start on the side. Do not bank on that one source of income. Because to be very honest, very young in life, my parents, like when I was 18, my parents and my entire family was immersed in this multi-level marketing called Amway. And that's through which I had read so many books, attended so many seminars in my tender age of life. One thing that remained with me was that earning 10 rupees from a source versus 1 rupee from 10 sources. So I would request everybody, especially the pandemic has been a jolt. And we should understand that even if it's, taking up tuitions of 10 people, doing something on the side, do not just bank on that one job, because that security might not be there forever.
Correct.
Secondly, there would be a lot of people who will think that you are a competition. Someday, maybe one day, when I'm grayer and older, there would be talks that I would speak, but not today. Not today is not the day. But anybody and everybody can think that you're a threat, you're a competition. You cannot help that. In your mind, you know that your parents trust you, you are honest, and there are no two ways about hard work. And accountability is another factor. Jo bol diya, wo kar diya. That should be the faith of clients.
Correct.
That when it's committed, so I would rather under-commit and over-deliver, rather than over-committing and not delivering at all.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's all about the ROI. So I do not aim big monies because I'm scared of that burden of expectation on my shoulder. Because as I mentioned yesterday to you in person, that already duto pressure should সকালে আর রাতে খাই. So the pressure of not just you, but you are never alone. You have the responsibility of a lot of people who will wait for you to credit their salary.
Correct.
Life is about taking responsibility of your health, your mental happiness and mental health. Because if you are unhappy, the world around is dark.
Absolutely, Roopsha. Thank you so much for all those insights. So many common elements. I had spoken some time back about in one of the webinars that if you want to be successful, you will have to be ready to make those sacrifices. And like you rightly said, when your friends in college were having the partying and the pubbing was flogging, right? And that's what probably has differentiated. The second thing is that we have a very common thought process is, we may be a single solopreneur or maybe an entrepreneur, but we have responsibilities towards our people, our team. And we better ensure that we take care of them, because that's where you're contributing. You're not only contributing to self, you're contributing to the team. The third takeaway, ladies and gentlemen, that you should take away from this, and Roopsha has worded it differently, I'm wording it slightly differently. If you want to make that big leap of faith from a job to an entrepreneurship or a solopreneurship, and we may have liabilities, are you ready to sustain yourself for 1,000 days without any income? Because if you're able to sustain yourself for 1,000 days, if you jump into an entrepreneurship thinking that first month you're going to get big money, it's never going to happen. You know that, Roopsha, I know that it takes time. It takes time to build that game in. So if you're ready, if you're not, build that 1,000 days. Build that 1,000 days and then take that leap of faith. And one day you will become a successful person, a happy person, a multifaceted person, well-read person, articulation to that core of Miss Roopsha Dasguupta.
Can I just take a minute from you?
Yes, please.
Thank you for making me feel so special, because to be very honest, the sheer fact of appreciation is something which is so lacking in the world around. So I think, the sheer fact of acknowledgement is sometimes more important. Then comes appreciation and edification. The positivity about you is that you have that aura of immense positive vibes, and I'm sure with that you have become who you are, Mr. Chakravorty. And I've seen you from a distance on stage. I've met you in person. Your eyes glow with so much of positivity that it's hope for all your business preneurs, and I'm sure that having you with them is a boon to a lot of business houses. And I'm sure that world is wonderful with people like you.
Roopsha, we should set up a mutual admiration club, but that's for a different day. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being online with us. We will continue our Monday mornings with Moloy, where we talk about businesses, and we will continue with the Wednesday in conversation with successful entrepreneurs like Roopsha Dasguupta. So till next Monday and till next Wednesday, thank you so much and have a great evening ahead. Thank you so much, Roopsha. Look forward to meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.